In a Degere village, there lived a woman called Kabibeli. She was young and very beautiful. She had just gotten married to a young man called Naman. They had been married for 3 years when she gave birth to a baby boy, and they named him Nalo. But everyone in the family, neighbors and friends called him Bomboy, meaning born a boy. When the child was about 3 months old, something strange happened in the community. There was a huge fire outbreak at night when they were all asleep. Kabibeli was the only one rescued from their house without any burns, but her husband died in the inferno. When Kabibeli saw that her little boy Bomboy was still stuck inside the burning house, she tried to run inside to rescue him, but the crowd would not get that from her. When she saw that the attention was no longer on her and they were busy trying to rescue others, she dashed into the burning house, despite the shout of others who realized that she was running into the house. Kabibeli will die in that inferno, the crowd shouted in dismay. We thought we have at least saved one person in the family. Oh, it's a pity. The whole family had to die this way, others shouted. But to their surprise, they saw Kabibeli running out of the house with Bomboy, her son, sheltered in her arms securely, while her hair was in flames. Everyone shouted and rushed towards her to help her. Luckily for her, the flame was put out, but she received a badly burnt face and charred hands. Her son, on the other hand, Bomboy, had few minor burns, which quickly healed up. A few years later, Kabibeli, with all her injuries healed and her son in good health, was now living in a one-room apartment with her son and struggling to get by. Her beauty was gone, but her shape was still remaining. She did different jobs just to survive and sustain herself with her son. In the community, so many men started coming to her because she was still young. Different men were coming to marry her, but she refused. She did not want any man to maltreat her son. And although she knew she was still very young, at 25, to remain single, she did not want any man to take advantage of her. Each time she looked into the mirror and glanced at her image, she grimaced at the face that looked back at her, and that concluded it all for her. She would not allow any man to insult her with such a look. With that, she lived with her son, struggling all day and night to train Bomboy until he was old enough to learn a trade. But with time passing by, Kabibeli started looking aged due to much suffering. One day, she sent for her only brother, who lived in a faraway city, and begged him to take Bomboy, who was now 12 years old, to learn a trade and have a better chance to become someone in a better future in his life, to have a better future in his life, and to understand enough to make a living out of his own trade. Bomboy, who loved his mother so much despite her looks, cried so much at parting with her. He cried at parting with his beloved mother. He could remember all the love she gave him, all the sufferings and starvations, time of need when there was no one there. And he looked into his mother's eyes and promised her he will fulfill her dreams. And by becoming somebody very important, he will come back to take her and care for her. The next morning, Bomboy was taken by his uncle to the city, while Kabibeli stayed back in the village alone. After so many years, about 15 years passed by since Bomboy left his mother and village for a better life, and Kabibeli only heard from them a few times, but she was not worried because she knew her son was struggling to become someone great in life, and he was in sure hands. One day when Kabibeli was at home, in the evening, she saw two men dressed in the fashion of people from the city walking towards her house. She looked properly and she was able to identify her brother, but the other young man she did not recognize. She welcomed them into the house and gave them chair to sit on. That was when her brother said to her, "This is your son, Bomboy, Nalo." Kabibeli could not believe her eyes and ears as she stared at the handsome young man in front of her. "So this is my son," she said. She jumped on him and grabbed him with affection, but the response from the young man was devastating. "Uncle, where is my mother?" the young man asked, his eyes roving all over the room. "This is your mother holding you, and you are asking me?" his uncle replied. "Oh no," Bomboy cried. "This child woman cannot be my mother," he said, looking at her disgustedly. Kabibeli was taken aback. She stopped in her track and stood transfixed as though she had been electrocuted. "No, it can't be," she shouted. "The mother I left years ago was beautiful, loving, and good-looking. I don't believe you, uncle. This is not my mother." Bomboy, with his heart filled with love in his early years, had not noticed the child and ugliness of the wound on his mother's face when he was young, because love covered it all. Now, after many years of separation from his mother, he had now come face to face with the reality of the situation, the reality of life. He managed to stay till the next morning, and as early as cockcrow, he told his uncle he was leaving. His embittered uncle felt very sorry for his beloved sister, but there was nothing he could do but to fulfill the young man's wish. And so they returned back to the city that same day. Kabibeli's heart turned and shattered. She could not bear it at all. The good I planned for my son, my only child, that I forfeited everything for, is now my undoing, she cried, to the hearing of the neighbors, and they pitied her. She could hardly eat or drink, despite the persuasion of neighbors. After about 6 months that her brother and son left, she felt seriously sad and dejected, and this led to a serious illness that no one could diagnose. The kind neighbors took the lonely lady to a place where sick people were treated to stay and sent for her brother and son in the city, that Kabibeli was dying. When Kabibeli's brother told Bomboy that his mother was dying, he told him he was not going because that was not his mother, that one day he will find his mother. His uncle looked at him, the grown-up Bomboy, who was now very wealthy, successful in his business, and getting ready to marry a beautiful young lady from the city, and felt sad. He invited Bomboy to his house and told him to sit down. He now narrated the whole story of the fire incident, how his father died in the inferno, and how his mother was rescued by the neighbors. But the joy, the love, and the thought of having her son die in that fire inferno was too much for her. She had to run into the flames to rescue him. And he brought him out with good health. He was not burnt at all. Rather, the covering, the fire now caught all her hair and head, and she became scalded. The face became scarred. So, after explaining everything, he explained how she would have even died, but luckily regained consciousness, and he himself was unhurt. The suffering and her refusal to remarry, all because of him, All this he narrated. He was sure his rejection of her had made her fall sick and now at the brink of dying. Oh, he cried, my only sister. Before he could finish the story, one boy was already crying like a baby. He started to pray that the Creator should please forgive him and protect his mother. He could not wait any longer. He asked his uncle to get ready and let them start moving to the village. When they got to the village, the situation was far worse than they had thought. His mother was actually dying. She could not recognize him. And he started to cry. They had to move her quickly to the city for a better treatment. The villagers were not happy. Many of them, at all, they were not happy at the event and felt pity for the hardworking Kabibeli, who had given everything to make sure her only child survived. Bomboy was crying now and begging that the Creator should forgive him, heal his mother, and give him one more chance to see her alive and spend some more time with her to make it up. After about 2 months, his prayers were answered and his mother began to recover. When she saw her son, she withdrew back, but he said, no, mother, don't withdraw back. It's your son, Nalo. Bomboy, I love you so much, mother. Please forgive me. Forgive me. I love you, mother. Don't run away from me. Don't turn away from me. Kabibeli was surprised. But gradually, he dawned on her that everything was okay, that it was real. Bomboy loved his mother from that day onward. He looked everywhere for whatever he could do to make Kabibeli happy. He introduced his mother to the woman of his heart, and after the wedding, after the marriage, he put his mother in his house and lived with her and his wife for many years to her old age. He had children, which all these children Kabibeli carried and nurtured with love. That is the word for you. May the Creator give us children that will love us to the end, no matter what. That's the end of the story. Please, my dear, subscribe, like, and share the video. Thanks for watching.